again, everybody. Welcome to yet another edition of Conversations of Connection, Mental Wellness in Sports and Life. My name is Scott Murray, along with
Dr. Nina Rios-Doria.
And how are you, my friend?
I'm doing really well.
What have you been up to?
Nice to be back here.
The springtime is here. Baseball season is underway. Football is behind us. The Final Four behind us.
As I know, lots been going on, right?
It's been crazy in the sports world. So how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm healthy. I know you and I were talking about staying healthy right now.
Oh, boy.
You have to be intentional about it.
It's crazy. And people sometimes still wearing masks, doing this, doing that. And I just want to get out there and be myself and be the way it used to be, Just, hi, how you doing?
Hi.
Great to see you.
Shake your hand, maybe.
That's right. What a great concept, huh?
Yeah. And one of the things we were talking before the show, and I wanted to share it with everybody also, is just how often, you're just everywhere all the time. And we were talking about how what do you do? Do you eat well? Do you exercise? Do you sleep well? Because those are the three most important things to help with the overall mental health.
Absolutely.
And that's
and this is the good doctor telling you that, folks, so listen carefully.
Yeah, and that's something you practice and do, and I think that's really admirable.
Well, I do. I try to certainly eat well. Just, fruits and vegetables. Hello. And protein.
And protein.
That's right. That's exactly right. And then, of course, as far as walking, I'm just out there walking on my own. And it's funny, when people park their car someplace, if they go someplace, they're always looking for the closest spot to the grocery store, to the whatever store, I don't mind parking as long as I know my car is in a safe area.
Right.
I park my car away.
Yeah.
And then I have to walk to the store. And it's amazing.
And you're blessed that you can walk, right?
Well,
so it's good.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then what's the third thing?
Sleep.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And somebody told me the older you get, the more sleep you need. I didn't know that was true because I know so many elderly people that they say, well, I get 3, maybe 4 hours of sleep. I said, you got to be kidding me. If I don't get 8 or 9 hours of sleep, I'm not ready to go to the next day.
Yeah, you just kind of know what you need.
Yeah,
Everyone's a little
really
different. But sleep is actually the number one thing to really help with overall mental health, just to wake up and be in that state that you can function and be grounded and healthy.
It's a great concept.
So I just wanted to share that with the audience that you do those things.
I only got 3 hours last night, so if I seem... No, I'm just kidding.
Speaking of that.
No.
So I'm glad that we get to do this together because, you're an advocate for mental health.
Well, and you're a walking proponent for what it's all about. So thank you for all you do.
Yeah.
That said and done, tell us about our guest today.
I'm excited. So I met Royal Haggerty about a little over 5 years ago, and what I love about his story is that he's an entrepreneur. He embraces life. He played football for over 7 years in the NFL. And now what I love, he's really serving, giving back. He does a lot of speaking. One of the things he does is worked with the Dallas Cowboy youth camp in the summer. He's been doing that for a few years. And I love that he wants just to be an encouragement to these youth today, because that's what we need. We need people like
youth
Royal.
Need it more than ever.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to have Royal Haggerty on the show today. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor, Dr. Nina, Scott, to be here. So I'm excited for this interview, and
Yeah, so here we go.
Yeah, let me play off of what Dr. Nina just said.
Yes, sir.
She gave you just a great introduction and all the incredible things that you're a part of. What's the one that you're proudest of? What's the one that you really, if you had to pick one and somebody says, gosh, you're doing all these things, Royal, what's the one that you really are excited to be a part of every day?
By far, it's mentor, because I think God gave me the platform of sports so that I can reach and do, mentoring. So I feel, in a way, youth training and, through sports and working out, all those components is my ministry. It's my marketplace ministry.
Where'd that come from? Because all players that have played college football or played in the NFL, that's not the scenario for what their lifestyle is. So where did that come for you? Your mom, your dad, as a youth, a minister? Who was it?
My mom, and just discovering my personal journey of my purpose, and really connecting the dots to say, well, this is something that I'm really passionate about. Just as I'm getting ready for an NFL game and running out on the field, I have that same enthusiasm when I'm talking or mentoring and pouring in to the young men and women. So I'm like, this is no coincidence.
Right. It's kind of it's
I'm like, this the same feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel that way. And so for me, the more times I did it and the more people who ask me about speaking engagements, hey, won't you, come talk to the youth? And it started in high school, coaches asking me to speak to a group of kids. And first I was kind of reluctant, like, me? What do you want me to, I'm in high school myself. And so, sometimes they say others will recognize, those things in you sometimes before you recognize those things
in yourself.
Yeah. And I'm just like, so
the leadership piece was always kind of just innate in you, and you didn't even know it. People just saw you as that leader and you just rose up to that. And going back to what Scott said, you said, where'd that come from? You said, it's just kind of, I knew it. I'm curious how, did you grow up with a solid foundation with mom and dad, or how was that for you growing up?
So I grew up single parent household. Dad was not there.
You ever meet him?
Yeah.
Relationship today?
No.
Maybe
I was actually talking with one of my clients about that last week. He said, you might want to, at some point, cross paths, and I hope that happens where you can speak to him again. And I said, at this point in my life, I realize that will probably happen. And when it does, I'll be ready for it. So I think it will happen.
Well, and I want to pause, because when Scott did ask you that about your father, you kind of said, you paused about, I did meet him. But before I ask you about your dad, I want to go back to that question that I asked you about who, growing up, you didn't have your dad, but you had your mom. Did you have anybody else that was influential in your life that helped you get to that place where you are today?
I had a ton of mentors and love around me. Like, it's starting with my mother, my brothers. I'm the youngest of four. Okay. 5, I'm sorry. Big sis. Youngest of 5, and then my uncles. I have a ton of uncles, and then my pastors, like growing up. My coaches, everyone played a role in the guy that you're talking to today. Everyone, as far as, gleaning from their wisdom. And I was a very attentive type of child. I would look at my surroundings because it was very real. There was a lot of gang violence and obscurity that I grew up in. And so you have to be very careful because you could lose your life. And so from a youth, I had just a keen sense of, I don't know if I want to do that or that, because that's where that's going to lead. And just my mom stayed in my ear. I could always hear her, like that inner voice, do this, don't do this, as well as the other mentors in my life. But it was more strongly with my mom. And to this very day, everything that my mom has told me, that if you do this, you're going to have success, I've had success. Everything she's told me where don't do this, and I did it, I always got in trouble or I failed at it. Yeah. So I realized you got to listen to mom.
Is mom still with us?
Yes.
That's so great.
Yes.
Okay. You said you had 5 siblings? Is that
5.
right? Okay. Where did you drop? Where were you in the pecking order? Were you the oldest, the youngest?
Youngest.
The youngest. Okay, that's what I thought you said. Here's my question. Were your brothers and sisters so adept to knowing that there were issues out there? In other words, did they think the same way that you did? You said your mother was the one. I just wondered if mom worked with them along
absolutely.
the way before you ever came? Or
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I say, my mother was that leader, but also my brothers gave me different types.
That's where I was going with that.
Brotherly advice as well, as far as, hey, don't go around pretending that you're something that you're not. Don't go starting trouble. There was just a rule, don't mess with anyone, but don't let anyone mess with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's my rule to this day. Like I stay in my own lane. I do what I'm called to do. And I try to, like, I'm, not even just low drama, no drama. I'm no nonsense person. And I just like to, what one of my mentors say, go where you're celebrated, not tolerated.
Like that. I like that a lot. Go where you're
So
celebrated and
I
not
don't,
tolerated.
if it's any environment where I'm not welcome, I'm not
Step
there.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not there.
It seems that, just hearing you talk about your story and where you are today, when you have a situation, you have a pause before you make your decision. You actually think, and then you hear this chatter from your mom, these voices, okay, I need to do this. And how do you teach that? How do you help the youth today? Because that's really good for mental health, what's going on in our heads. And you seem very self-aware, and you pause. You've just been taught to pause, and what do I need to do? So how do you help athletes today, or the youth you work with? How do you teach them that?
Right. It's exactly, how you formulated the question is, you teach them by allowing them to make the mistakes, and then you hit the pause button, you rewind, and then you ask them questions. Okay, now that you did that and you saw that result, how would you do that differently? And now they're thinking, so that the next time, now they have wisdom for the next time they act it out. And then you go again to see if they learned it. And then you go again. And by the third time, they're like,
okay, I get it.
Right. So because repetition is the mother of learning. So we learn things by experiencing them, or someone giving us the insight. So if my mom was the person, or my uncles or my brothers or whoever give me the insight, now I have the information, I have the wisdom. Well, I have the at
knowledge.
That point, it's knowledge.
It's knowledge.
I have the knowledge.
What do I do with that? I'm not sure.
Then you go out in real life, you act those things out, and now you recall the knowledge, and you're like, ooh. So now wisdom tells you the next time that you do that, you do it the way that you were taught to, in the right way, so that you can get the result or avoid the consequence of choosing the opposite result. And so in that same way, that's how I mentor the youth. I think we live in a society, and when we start talking about like mental health, I think we're magnifying it bigger than it is, because people are not letting others be human and be realistic, and not be afraid to make mistakes. Like we are human. We are going to make mistakes.
Yes.
We're going to make a lot of them. I think when you talk about the pressure of someone to perform or to be something unrealistic, that's where people are losing their minds.
Yeah.
Let me jump in here and ask
Go
you
ahead.
this then, just in the interest of time. Totally agree and hear where you're coming from. But what we have seen here, I was going to say post-COVID, I think we're out of COVID. It's still out there. But my point is this: now that we're back to some sense of normalcy, you see, you can't turn the news on any day and not hear about some young person, not a 45-year-old man, but a young person, a teenager, boys and girls, men and women, that have walked into a school and shot people, have walked into a Walmart and shot people. They might not even know the people. And they're not just shooting adults. They're not just they're shooting children. This is something that we've never seen before.
Right.
Where is this coming from? And that certainly is that a mental illness, a mental issue? Where is all that coming from?
Absolutely.
Or is it just lack of good parenting as a youngster?
Oof.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's
This is only, this isn't a 4-hour show. So
I what I will say,
I'm just trying to play off of what you just shared.
Yeah, absolutely. What I will say is that it's not one thing.
Right.
It's a culmination of before someone can get to a point of going into a school and committing acts like that. There are a series of things that happen in their life. There's a buildup to that. maybe it's a combination of not having the parents there. Maybe it's a combination of having the parents there but not feeling loved, having anger.
Yeah.
Maybe it's social media where I wish I could live that.
Well,
I'm on
see,
the
you're going
outside
right where I
looking
was
in.
thinking, because I always try to think, what's the variable that's never been a part of it before? And social media is
Social media.
certainly
media
it.
is.
Yeah.
You know,
And so,
and something going back to what you said about the pressure that athletes feel today, the pressure they feel they put on themselves or parents put on them. Can you talk to the athletes listening? Because there's so many of them that struggle with anxiety, because I see them in my office because of the pressure they're feeling. What would you tell them from your experience as an athlete to release some of that pressure and stress?
You know what I'm gonna tell them?
As you smile.
Because my mom's wisdom.
Oh, it's coming in. It's coming in.
So I was in high school, and I remember coming to my mom several times after I've won and lost. So one particular time, we went, our freshman year, we went undefeated. We didn't lose a game on our freshman football team.
This is in high school.
Yeah, this is high school.
where'd you go to school?
Dallas Lincoln.
Okay.
So next time I came to her, we had lost the state championship. And she's in her room laying down. I'm in the hallway. And I come in, I'm just, I'm feeling everything that, from the loss and, wow. And so she's like, what's up? She said, how did it go? I said, we lost. I said, we lost bad. And it's just, we lost in overtime. And she said something to me so simple. She said, you can't win them all. And so I was like, but you can. Teams have went under. And she said, you can't win them all. That stayed with me. I think athletes, if you have an unhealthy perspective that you're going to win every single sports event, or when you're participating, that you're going to win it all, you're going to win it all the time, and you're going to have all the celebrations. That's not realistic. And I think what athletes are doing nowadays is because they see the rare Michael Jordans or LeBron James or Steph Curry's or Tiger Woods or Jack Nicklaus or the Muhammad Ali's. That doesn't represent everybody.
Right.
And even as much as they've won, they've also lost as well. So we have to remember that sports is a game, and you're not going to win all the games all the time. And so everyone wants that wave. Everyone wants to be on top, but it's just not realistic. It's like if you ask Tom Brady, this man has 7 championships, 7 NFL World Championships. If you ask him, do you want another one? Absolutely. If you ask Barry Sanders, who played phenomenal his whole career, he didn't win a single ring. They're both champions.
Right.
Right?
But he did do something that most people haven't done.
Go ahead.
Won a Heisman and went to the
Heisman.
Pro Football Hall of Fame.
There you go.
One of only 10 people in the history of sports.
Look at that.
That's a pretty good group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But your point's well taken.
Yeah,
Your
so-
point's well taken.
So it's like we all have things that we want to accomplish more. That one win, maybe, for some person, if I could have just won one more championship, if I could have made the Hall of Fame, if I could have went to the playoffs, if I could have played one more year, if I had, it's always going to be something.
Let me.
Okay.
Okay. I was going to say, everything you've shared with us is really. I agree with 99.9% of it, or 100% of it. You have been very on point.
Thank you.
In what you shared with us. So I'm going to ask you this: when you're out there working in these camps for the Dallas Cowboys, What are the three things, if you were to share with us right now, with our audience, the three things that are the most important things that you might share with our youth today, so we don't see the shenanigans that go on and the devastation of picking up a gun and shooting somebody that you don't even know? Not that all these kids are going to do that. But my point is, just that environment or that mentality exists today. What would you say to kids about knowing what you went through, coming out of a tough neighborhood, but people weren't doing that?
Right.
What is the message today here in 2023? What is the message that you, if given the opportunity, could share with those young people? What are the three things that are most important?
Well, the first thing is you can't put a price on keeping God number one. I think when we keep God first, that gives us perspective. It gives us the measurement, just like my mom set the tone for you can't win them all. Our faith gives us the grounding, because, if you're going to talk about mental health and just even like nutritional, going down the line, financial, whatever it is, a guy like me, when I'm paying attention and looking at life and looking at what's going on, it has to be something that supersedes where I am, something that outweighs that. And the one undeniable thing is the Word of God, because the Word of God has an answer for all matters.
Yeah.
Like if someone comes in here with 100, if 100 different people came in here, or 1,000 different people came in here with 1,000 different problems, the Word of God can answer those. I can't, but the Word of God can. So the first thing I give the young people is keep God number one. Let God be your source. The second thing is respect others. We teach not to make fun or make someone feel inferior, because it doesn't. The same way that it wouldn't feel good to them is the same way that it wouldn't feel good to you if people ostracized you or poked fun at you. So we always teach, hey, respect your campers, whether it's a male, whether it's a female, regardless of who's out here. We're all going to respect, and that goes from camper to coach, camper to parents. We've seen some. I'm like, you got to ring that boy up, and peer to peer, and then the third level is, know that it's a process. We only have maybe 5 to 6 hours during the camp. You're not going to learn all the skills in one camp. You're not going to learn it all in one season. Greatness and, excelling in your sport, it takes years. It takes a lot of hours. So be patient. A lot of times they get frustrated when they don't get something. I say, hey, take your time. I said, how long you been playing sports? A year.
Yeah,
2 years.
3 weeks.
Just a month. Yeah.
I said, you're not going to be Patrick Mahomes. As much as you would like to be, you got some time. And then they start laughing. I said, hey, take it slow. You 2 years.
Yeah.
I said, go look at how long Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady and all those guys have been playing.
Yeah.
Years.
Yeah.
I said, so
absolutely.
I said, so you're on the right path.
Yeah. Just be patient.
You know,
we got 5 minutes left. Take us home, my friend.
Oh no. Well, I want to go back, because you do seem really grounded, and you had such a great group of people, role models in your life.
Oh wow. Yes.
Yeah. And then you talk about the pressure and how you dealt with that as a team if you don't win. Another area that athletes struggle with, just individually, the team might win, but they didn't do well. They didn't contribute. So when you think back of being in the NFL for 7 years, can you think of a time where you didn't perform like you did. The team won, and it was really hard to kind of get through that period and how you did get through it.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that's a part of sports.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all want to have every game be the perfect game.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes you can get there. Sometimes it's just, oh man, everything lines up and you're like it lines up better than I thought. And then sometimes it doesn't. So you just that's the good part about sports is going out and, you know, you plan for hours and hours and hours and hours, right? You go through scenarios. If they do this, then we'll do that. And but when the game starts, no, you may have to scrap a game plan and just go with the flow because something else is working. You know, it might be these guys over here or this run play or, you know, like you know, the game changes. And so in your mind, you thought, oh, I know I was going to have like 14 catches, 3 touchdowns, 300 yards today. And it's just like, no, this is a run game because, you know, the run game is working. So it's like,
Yeah. So how do you shift your mindset to be present and kind of let that go? What did you do?
Well, you got to know it's a team sport. Okay. You know, if you're playing basketball or football, it's a team sport. I mean, I like to think that it's very different in boxing because it's you know, you get punched in the chin. You know, you're training going, hey, duck, you know, so it's you out there. But in tennis, you know, golf, right? It's, you know, you have to figure out if you're behind or in a slump or the guys are getting the best of you or girls are getting the best of you, you got to figure out how to, you know, navigate through that. In more of team sports like football and basketball, there's a lot of scenarios that could take place that are out of your control.
Right.
You got to know that not everything is in your control. Mm-hmm. So keep a level head, like keep even keel. Right, because if you get too high on yourself and then things don't go your way, now you're all the way down here. And if you get too low and then the team is relying on you, they're like, "Hey, we're you know, like we need you to be this," and you're like, "Well, I didn't think I was." They're like, "Oh my God," and they go to the next person. Yeah. So you got to keep the even keel and just go out and say, you know, whether it falls on me or falls on the rest of the team, I'm going to go out and do my best today. And wherever that is, you know, we're going to let those chips fall there.
So be it.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So be it.
The sports.
I've got one more question. Do you have anything else?
I was just going to say to you what I'm noticing about you, going back to how you pause and you're thinking, but you just had you gave yourself a lot of grace and your self-talk was really good to help you through those moments. It seems like it's a team sport. I'm just going to play it. You know, you just got back into that present moment by just the things you told yourself.
Yeah. You know, the one trait, if I could pick the one quality trait of great athletes where this is what you would want to master, it's the ability to be resilient and have a short memory. Oh. All the great ones have it because the greater the level, when you make mistakes on the highest level, it's magnified that much more. So if you don't have I call it SMS, not a short messaging system, but a short memory system where you can erase that out of your mind and come back the next drive or the next possession and act like that totally didn't happen. Not in a way that you don't take accountability and you know, learn from your mistakes and fix it, but the guys, if you look at the people who really excel, they were able to overcome adversity and be resilient in short time. Like, they went out and threw an interception, and now everybody's like, "Oh, you need to cut him," and then and so they're over there on the side like, and then they come out and they drive down and score a game winner. Oh, he's the greatest athlete ever. So you got to keep it.
I love what you just told everybody, that short memory system. It's just another way of looking at it.
That's what you got to do. I know a lot of players that think that.
Yeah. So good. Thank you.
We've only got 1 minute left, so what I'm about to ask you so hopefully you can do this quickly. Your legacy, years from now, people say your name. What do you want them to remember?
I want them to remember that I gave. I was a giver, and I helped people to live a life of complete wellness in every area, in every atmosphere that I went in and touched. People were changed by that. They were inspired by that to go out and live the best life and do what God has called them to do.
Okay. Well, your legacy isn't over yet, but I think everybody that has listened to this program has certainly been touched by everything that you've shared. Yeah. I've been most impressed by everything. I wish a few more athletes had that same mentality. Yeah. And having covered athletes in all sports, from the Olympics to the Super Bowl to the whatever, and unfortunately, too many athletes, it's all about wins and losses, which is certainly most important. But they also have a life off the field,
right?
And they could share as you have done and continue to do. So, Royal, thank you. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll let you take us home. Wrap it up.
And I just want to say thank you too. Your mindset and just what you shared today and your wisdom to these youth, I think, is going to be really helpful and beneficial. So, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and thank you for joining us on another Conversations of Connection, Mental Wellness in Sports and Life. And we'll see you next time.
I'm Scott Murray. She's Dr. Nina. Stay well.
Take care.